activist, and I was born and raised in New York. I grew up with a single mother and my maternal grandparents and an older sister. And unfortunately, I went through a lot of trauma growing up. I witnessed a lot of violence, specifically domestic violence, a lot of police activity. My father or biological father, it's just a mouthful, but you know, gotta be specific. He viewed women as second-class citizens. He, left when I was 6, and he left us with so much rent to pay and didn't allow my mom to work, so we were on welfare for a while. And not having any food to eat, and that was really rough. I think that in terms of growing up and seeing that people who you looked up to or people who you love or thought would have the best interest for you didn't care. And I think that even seeing my biological father saying, like, I don't care if you die in the street and, are homeless, like, it was like those types of like words that I heard growing up. And I think that that's hard because you think that like your life is meaningless and worthless, and I think that that's really hard to hear when you're growing up. And so that's a little bit of what I was going through. And from the ages of 8 to 18, even now, to be completely honest, I still sometimes experience suicidal ideation, but I acted upon those feelings from being 8 to 18. And so just going through a lot, seeing that my mother was always depressed, seeing that we really didn't have the language to express what that meant for us, and feeling like growing up being told that mental illness or going to therapy was a white person thing, that that's not something we talk about, that that's not really an issue that is important to us, or how are we going to get food on the table, how are we going to get a job or an education. Like, unfortunately, certain things were more of our priority than mental health. And so it was something that I felt like I couldn't talk about. And even the few times that I did have a relationship with my biological father, anytime I would express what I was going through, he would kind of just look away or just try to avoid it. He just wouldn't want to talk about it. And so I very much felt like I couldn't express myself or open up or say anything about what I was going through. And so it was constantly feeling silenced and feeling like I couldn't express myself. So I was, going through a lot, and I have been trying to end my life for so many years. And when I was 18, after my first year of college, when I returned back from Smith, things were going bad in school and things weren't really great at home. So I felt, where can I go to have some sort of release or relief from anything? And so that's when I attempted the last time, and this year it'll be 10 years since I attempted. And I ended up being hospitalized and going to a psychiatric ward. And for me, that felt like a very eye-opening experience for me, because I realized that something that I had did so often had real consequences. And so I decided that after being in the psychiatric ward and seeing really what was happening with me, I decided that I wanted to be an advocate for myself. I wanted to focus more on what I was going through and seeing how I can take care of myself. And thinking about, how do you do that when you're coming from a Latino household that, again, you don't talk about it, you usually, pray to God, go to church, there's certain things that you do and you don't go to therapy. But I knew that I wasn't going to continue going through that. And I know that when it comes to ancestral trauma, it is within the genes, but part of me was like, I don't want to continue this cycle of silence. I don't want to continue this, well, we're not going to talk about this, or, yeah, your great uncle, he ended his life, but, that was just him. Or not really going into the depths of why this is happening. And so I advocated for myself, and I told my family, I need to go to therapy. I need to take medication. This is what I need to do to improve my quality of life. A lot of us in the immigrant community, or even just communities of color, we say we want our children to have a better life than we did. But what does that look like? We always talk about, career and family and like having a house and a roof over our heads. But at the center of it is mental health. What are we doing to make sure that we have a good quality of life? And so I'm trying and with myself and with my family members for us to talk about these feelings. And it's not a taboo topic, and that doesn't make us weak, and we're human beings. So I was able to advocate for myself and, focus on my mental health. And then, just doing a lot of stuff. And then in September 2014, after being an activist and working on domestic violence, reproductive rights, body image issues that all had a personal connection to me, I decided I wanted to focus on mental health. And I just wanted to take it seriously as something for me to do some type of activism for. And so I decided to Google mental health / mental illness and see what came up, like what are people talking about. But when the Google images came up, overwhelmingly the images were of white women. And I said, why don't any of these women look like me? Why don't any of these women look like my community or communities of color in general? And it's invalidating, and I felt like, why isn't there more of a diverse representation? And even in addition to that, it's why isn't it more of a diverse representation of, okay, we're not all, holding our heads in our hands, we're not always suffering. Like, yes, there's a very real problem, and it's something that we go through a lot, but again, we still get to have meaningful lives, we have great relationships, we can accomplish a lot of things. And so I decided that I wanted to create a photo project that would humanize the experience and stop focusing so much on the statistics. And I basically asked people to submit photos of themselves holding signs, basically saying whatever they wanted, but basically to say that this is who I am, this is what I live with, and my experience with it. And since then, we have over 100 submissions, and they come from all over the US, from Canada, and from the UK, and it's something that I'm extremely proud of. And I'm going to try to make this, I feel like I'm talking too much, but it's been really important and validating for me to do something like this, because so many people in my community are like, I thought I was the only one, or I thought this was a white person issue, and it's not. And people have actually used this to come out on social media, within their family. Like, they've said, Ma, like, look at all these people. Like, it's not a white person thing. These are people who look like us, and this is something that we need to prioritize. I mean, not ignoring the fact that there's lack of access and lack of cultural competency when it comes to mental health, but I feel like if we somehow focus on how important it is for our culture, that we could start at least having these conversations at home. And it's just been it's been incredible, the results of this project. I've been able to go to the White House. I've been able to go to so many universities and colleges and hospitals and venues, working with NAMI, working with all these places and doing keynotes and like sharing my story and advocating for students of color and just doing so many things and advocating for other people, advocating for myself. And it's just been such an amazing experience, and it's been an honor, and I'm so happy that I'm here, and I'm appreciative of the fact that I'm still here. I think that we're all still here, despite what we've gone through, we're still here, and I think that that's something to be immensely proud of. So I'll just stop there. Mm-hmm.